What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast, brought to you by odds.com. We're here for another episode of Total Madness. That's right, we're looking at the overs, the unders. We're going to look for sneaky value now that we are back in Las Vegas at the UFC's Apex for UFC Brunson versus Shabazian. Let's get right on into this bad boy. We're kicking it off with a banger. UFC newcomer Cody Durden coming in here against Chris Gutierrez. We've got the total set at 2.5. The over is -200. The under comeback is +170. This one's an interesting situation. We just saw Gutierrez look the best that he has ever looked. We know he can TKO people just using his leg kicks alone. However, before that, he was a bit of a decision machine. So I'm not quite sure what I want to do with this guy. The other thing is we don't know that Cody Durden is going to play his game. We know that Durden is a solid grappler, and in the UFC's Apex, we've got that small cage. So we know that favors the grapplers. We know he's going to have the opportunity to close the distance here, and the question is whether or not he'll be able to do anything with Gutierrez, who is a brick shithouse. This one is probably going to go over, but both guys are fully capable of finishing here. You know that's my requirement for taking an under, and at +170, the under looks a little enticing. I'm not sure if I'm going to take a stab on that one, though, because I'll be honest with you, it's really a shot in the dark for me on Cody Durden. I have not been able to get the information that I'm looking for on him. I haven't really been able to find much videotape on him, so because of that, I'm kind of leaving this fight alone. Moving on, we've got Jamal Emers taking on Timor. Total set again at 2.5. Over is -265. The under is +225. I almost took that underdog shot on Jamal Emers. Decided to go ahead and pass on it. Both these guys are durable. Both these guys are fully capable of grappling. I think we see a wrestling match, and I don't know if either of them are going to be able to get that finish. We saw Jamal Emers go 3 rounds with Giga Chikadze, and even though Giga is a solid striker, Timor Valiev not really comparable. He's an undersized fighter. He's used to fighting a weight class below. His ground game is solid. His ground pound is heavy, but I've got a feeling these guys might end up doing a lot of cage grappling and a lot of transitioning on the floor, and unless somebody gets caught in a submission, I think it probably goes the distance. So I'm not going to touch that one either. We've got Eric Spicely taking on Marcus Perez. The total set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is +110. The over is -140. This one pisses me off, folks, because I like that under. I think the under 2.5 is cashing here. I've got to play on Marcus Perez already. Both these guys are capable of submitting. Marcus Perez is definitely capable of knocking Eric Spicely out. I think that under 2.5 is money. However, I don't want to lay -140 on it at this stage. Sometimes you just got to bite the chalk, especially if it's a good play. So that's the way that I would look on this one, but I'm going to keep on looking for a couple of better spots. Maybe we find something a little later on the card. We have got Nathan Maness taking on Ray Borg, and this one, for whatever reason, they've got the total set at 1.5. I'm sorry, I apologize. That's an alternate line there that I didn't see. 2.5. 2.5 is the line here that we've got for Nathan Maness and Ray Borg. That seems a little more appropriate. The over is -265. The under is +225. And even though Ray Borg has showed off some decent, solid striking improvements in his last couple of fights, he's a decision machine. He doesn't really look for the finish. He gets in there, he presses people up against the cage, he takes them down, he mat returns them. I expect he's going to maul Maness here in this fight the same way he mauls everybody else, and I don't know that I see a finish manifesting unless Maness gives up his neck or unless Maness is much better than we're anticipating him to be and somehow manages to knock out Ray Borg. Don't really see that happening. So I'm going to go ahead and take another pass. Ed Herman, Gerald Mearshart, GM3. The total on this one is set at 1.5, and we've got the under juiced to +165. The over 1.5 is -190. This is one where really the only way that I would be able to look would be the over, and I hate that line at -190. Both guys are totally capable of finishing here. Gerald Mearshart, wizard on the ground, and I think he's fully capable of submitting Ed Herman, but I think that'll happen in the later rounds when the older, more withered Ed Herman starts to slow down and gas. Now, if you like Ed Herman, that under 1.5 may not be such a bad way to go because we know Mearshart is coming off of a bad knockout loss. If you think Ed Herman's going to knock him out, do you really see it taking place in the 3rd round? I don't know that I do. So if you like Ed Herman, maybe a look at the under 1.5 here. You're getting a little bit extra juice on the money, but if you play Ed Herman straight, you've always got that long shot, him winning by decision possibility intact in that line. Frankie Saenz taking on Jonathan Martinez. The over 2.5 is minus 200. The under is plus 170. This one's interesting, folks. Frankie Saenz is a solid wrestler. He's a wrestling coach. He's a former ASU standout, I believe, and I fully expect him to get in here on Martinez. The question is, will Martinez be able to defend the takedowns or not? Frankie Saenz is getting old. He's a little long in the tooth. If Martinez is able to stop that takedown, I think he probably finishes Saenz. There's a decent chance that he clips him and puts him down. Frankie Saenz has had a little bit of durability issues as of late. He got knocked out in his last fight by Chito Vera, so that knockout threat is completely possible. Now, like I said, we want both guys to be able to contribute here to this under 2.5. Can Frankie Saenz continue? Yes, it's possible. Dude's got a squeeze on him. So if he does manage to get Martinez down, he can look for the back. He can look for the choke. He can potentially land TKO victory here. This under 2.5 has me very excited. At plus 170, I don't think that's a bad line whatsoever. We might be making that one an official play. Trevin Giles taking on Kevin Holland. We've got the over-under once again set at 2.5. The over is minus 125. The under is minus 105. I do think that this one is going under, my friends. Kevin Holland is a wrecking ball. He's an absolute machine, and we have seen Trevin Giles give up in these fights on more than one occasion. However, Trevin Giles is incredibly skilled himself. I don't necessarily see him finishing Holland, but I don't want to say he can't, because he absolutely has the raw physical attributes to go ahead and get something like that done. I do expect Kevin Holland to win this fight. However, I don't know that it's going to happen in the first or second round. It may be a late third round submission like we've seen Trevin Giles give up multiple times before. So that 2.5 gets a little bit sketchy. I would lean towards the under 2.5 at minus 105. You're getting the better side of the line going that direction, but I've got a big play on Kevin Holland on this one. So as much as I think he's probably going to finish Trevin Giles, I've got him mixed into a parlay, so I don't have any effort or any need to make a play on the under 2.5 in this particular situation. Lando Venata taking on Bobby Green. We've got a 2.5 total again. Over is minus 275. Under is plus 235. And I think this one's a dead over. Unless Lando Venata catches Bobby Green early, which we know he's capable of, but unless he catches him early, Venata's not putting Green down. Green potentially can overwhelm Lando Venata late when he does start to slow down. He gasses from all the spinning stuff that he throws and things like that. Green is very well-rounded. He's got underrated grappling these days. It's something he's been working on. So the threat of ground and pound or a submission is always there. That under 2.5 at plus 235 seems extremely juicy to me, especially in a rematch when these guys know each other's ins and outs. They're both going to try and fake the other one out. They're both going to try and bring something new to the table to get the one up on the other. There's a chance this thing gets finished. However, both guys have proven to be extremely durable. So I do think it's going to go over, but I really wouldn't mind it if you want to roll the dice on that plus 235. It's a good, solid, juicy line. We've got Randy Rudeboy Brown taking on Vicente Luque. The total is set at 1.5 for this one, minus 145 to the over and plus 125 to the under. This is one where I absolutely think, you know what? I spoke too soon. I don't know what to do with this one. I was going to say I absolutely want to look under because I see that plus line, but really, Vicente Luque has proven to be incredibly tough to finish. So because of that, it makes me think possibly over. I mean, he went into the third round with Nico Price, and we know Nico Price hits like a freaking truck. Randy Brown, on the flip side of this, then he's gone to decision several times himself, even though he did end up getting knocked out by Nico Price. That was a bit of a fluky knockout. It was a wild situation. It's a highlight reel spot, and I don't know that Vicente Luque is going to be able to go ahead and mimic that. Now, we have seen Randy Brown give up his back. He got out of a bad submission situation. He's got good submission defense, so he could get choked out on the mat. He's a black belt himself. He might catch Luque. Luque is very high level on the mat himself. I feel like these guys are maybe going to nullify each other. If the line was set at 2.5, I'd definitely be looking under. However, we've got a 1.5 here, and I don't know if I want to roll the dice on the round taking just 1.5 rounds. Jennifer Maia taking on Jojo Calderwood. This one is a dead over, folks. It's a small cage. It's women's MMA. Neither of these women are violent finishers in any way imaginable. The 2.5 over is set at minus 380, and I got to tell you, there's no real other way to look. Jojo Calderwood is a volume striker. She doesn't really sit on her punches. She's not known as a knockout artist. Jennifer Maia's got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. However, she doesn't really finish people. She more tends to grind on them. let's keep this one short. There's no reason to really go into it. I don't like the under at all. Even at plus 315, I just don't see it happening. Here we go, main event time. We've got an over-under of 1.5. We actually have an alternate line of 2.5 as well. It's the main event. Why don't we talk about both? We've got the over 1.5 minus 105. The under 1.5 is minus 115. The 2.5 line, over 2.5 is plus 170 and under is minus 215. So Edmen Shahbazyan has a nasty habit of banking a first round knockout, and Derek Brunson has a bad habit of running in with his chin up. Basically, everyone is telling you that this fight is only gonna go the one round. However, we're in the smaller cage. Derek Brunson has been employing a more grappling-heavy style as of late. The thing that really concerns me is that half round. On the under 2.5, I think that's solid. Minus 215, one of these guys is getting finished before that third round, in my opinion. However, the 1.5, I don't know if it ends in the first round. As much as I hope Edmen Shahbazyan comes out and just blasts Brunson out there in the first 2 minutes of this fight and we call it easy and it's a rocking chair casher for us on the parlay, I don't know if it's going to happen that way. I can see Brunson being able to close the distance quickly because of it being the small cage, put Shahbazyan up against the fence, play it safe, get out of that first round, and then we're going to be sweating our faces off for the 2.5 minutes that are left of round 2. I don't think I would be touching a total in this one unless you wanted to use the under 2.5 as potentially a parlay piece or something like that, just to say, hey, we're pretty sure that this one doesn't go the distance. So looking back over the card, there was really only one spot that really jumped out at me, and it looks like that's the Jonathan Martinez Frankie Saenz under 2.5 at plus 170. The other spot that's potentially interesting is Cody Durden, Chris Gutierrez under 2.5 at plus 170 as well. Those are the two spots that I really am liking that plus value on the under. Both sides of that have fighters that are willing to throw, that are capable of finishing. So if you want to take a stab, those are the two totals that have kind of caught my eye. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Make sure you subscribe to Odds HQ here on YouTube. Give me a follow at Die Hard MMA Pod over on Twitter. Good luck, everybody. Let's roll.